The night sky burned red above the ruined city. Strange lights moved in the clouds, not like stars, not like anything human. They were alien ships hunting the streets below. Their engines hummed with a cold, steady sound, and whenever the noise grew louder, the people hid in silence. No one dared to move. No one dared to breathe. Among the broken towers, a girl ran. Her breath came fast, her steps uneven. Dust clung to her face, and her eyes were wide with fear. She kept looking back, afraid of what followed. Her voice trembled as she cried out into the shadows. "Mighty human, my mother's been taken, save her." The city gave no answer. Only the sound of machines in the distance. She stumbled forward, calling again. "Please, I know you are here." A figure stood in the darkness. Tall still, almost hidden against the wreckage. His eyes caught the faint red glow of the sky, sharp and cold. He did not move at first. He only watched her. The girl froze when she saw him. Stories had been told about this man, though no one knew his true name. Some said he was not a man at all, but a ghost from old wars. Others whispered he was a monster built by human hands, too dangerous to live, too powerful to kill. The girl's voice cracked. "They took her. The hunters dragged her away. She's still alive, I know she is. But they will not keep her alive for long." The figure finally stepped forward. His boots crunched on broken stone. A long weapon rested across his back, and his arms looked too strong, too heavy, as if they had been shaped for war. His face was marked with scars, but his eyes were the most unsettling. They were human eyes, yet they carried something else, something sharp, controlled, unfeeling. "You asked me to fight," he said quietly. His voice was deep, steady, almost mechanical. "Yes," the girl begged. "You are the only one who can. Everyone says so. You are the mighty human." He looked away as if the name brought no pride. His gaze turned to the city's heart, where the alien patrols moved like shadows. Strange machines crawled on four legs, their lights sweeping across the streets. Above them, the ships circled like vultures. "They watch everything," he said. "If I go, they will know. Then let them know." Her eyes filled with tears. "Let them fear you, please, my mother. She is all I have." The man studied her. For years he had walked these ruins alone, avoiding both the hunters and the humans who feared him. He had no purpose. He had no family. He had only his strength, a gift or a curse. It no longer mattered. But now this girl stood before him, fragile yet unbroken, begging him to use the power he hated. For the first time in a long while, he felt something stir inside. A memory of why humans fought. Not for survival, for each other. The ground shook. Somewhere close, a heavy machine landed. A beam of white light swept across the ruins, searching. The girl gasped and clung to him. "They will find us," she whispered. The man's eyes hardened. He pulled the weapon from his back, a long, black rifle that seemed to hum with energy. His voice was calm, but his hands were steady with purpose. "They already have," he said. The light passed over them, and in that instant, the man moved. Faster than any normal soldier, his weapon roared and the alien machine shrieked as sparks tore through its metal shell. The sound echoed across the city, louder than thunder. The girl shielded her ears, staring in shock as the machine collapsed in flames. Smoke rose into the red sky. The man lowered his weapon. His breath was even, controlled as if destruction cost him nothing. He turned back to the girl. "They will come now," he said. "Many of them." "Then we must go," she urged. "We must reach her before it's too late." For a long moment he said nothing. He could walk away, leave her to her fate, and continue his empty life. But the look in her eyes, fear, hope, desperation, held him. She reminded him of something he thought he had lost forever, the reason to fight. Finally he nodded. "Show me where they took her." Relief washed over her face, though fear still shook her voice. "The prison, in the center of the city. The Overlord keeps his captives there." At that name, the man's expression darkened. The Overlord, the master of the hunters, the one who ruled this broken world. For years, the man had avoided crossing him. Now, because of a single girl's plea, he was walking straight into the enemy's grasp. Still, he felt no regret. The girl took a step forward, but he stopped her with a raised hand. His gaze scanned the ruins, every shadow, every broken wall. "Stay close to me," he said. "Do exactly as I say. If you don't, you will die." She nodded quickly. "I will, I promise." Together, they slipped into the ruins. The girl's heart raced with both fear and hope. The man moved like a predator, silent and precise, his eyes always watching the skies. High above, the alien ships turned, their lights falling toward the city's center. The hunters had seen the flames. They were coming, and the mighty human was walking straight toward them. The ruins grew darker as they moved deeper into the city. Broken towers leaned against each other like tired giants, their glass long shattered, their steel bones bare to the sky. Every corner whispered danger. The girl walked close behind the man, her small footsteps echoing softly, while his were heavy, unshaken, like the march of a soldier who had done this too many times before. She wanted to speak, but his silence was heavy and she feared to break it. Finally, she asked in a trembling voice, "Who are you really?" The man did not turn his head. His eyes scanned the shadows, searching for movement. "You already know," he said. "They call you the mighty human," she whispered. "But what does that mean?" For a moment, his steps slowed. The name was not one he had chosen. It was given to him by survivors who had seen what he could do. But to him, it was nothing but a chain, a reminder of what he truly was. "I am not mighty," he said coldly. "I am a weapon, a machine built from flesh and blood. Nothing more." The girl shook her head. "No, you saved me. You killed that hunter machine back there. Weapons don't choose. You chose." Her words struck him, though his face did not show it. He remembered when he had been young, before the experiments, before the pain. Back then, he had been a boy who laughed, who dreamed. But those days were gone, taken from him in a hidden laboratory where scientists carved away his humanity to build something the world had never seen. His body was torn and remade, again and again. Bones reinforced with steel-like marrow, muscles layered with fibers that could tear through metal, nerves rewired to react faster than thought, and his mind sharpened, trained to fight, to kill, to obey. He remembered lying on a cold table, listening to the voices around him. He will be unstoppable. He will be the answer to the alien threat. But when the wars came, the armies fell, the cities burned, and he was left behind, a tool without a master, a weapon without a war. He stopped walking and turned his gaze to the girl, his eyes pale and hard, locked onto hers. "Do you know what it feels like to have your humanity taken from you?" She shook her head slowly. "It feels like silence," he said, "like a voice cut out of your soul. You move, you fight, you kill, but inside nothing speaks, nothing feels." The girl's eyes watered, but she stood her ground. "If that were true, you would not be here. You would not listen to me. Somewhere inside you, the voice is still there." He looked at her for a long moment. No one had spoken to him like that in years. Most people feared him. Some even tried to kill him, believing he was cursed. But this girl, so young, so fragile, saw something else. Something even he could not believe in anymore. A sudden metallic screech echoed from the rooftops. Alien drones glided overhead, their eyes glowing with red light. The man grabbed the girl and pulled her under the shadow of a collapsed wall. His hand pressed her shoulder, steady and firm. "Do not move," he whispered. The drones passed, scanning the ruins. Their beams cut across the rubble, but the two remained hidden. When the machines finally flew on, the girl let out a shaky breath. He released her and stepped out first, scanning the street. His body moved with precision, every motion calculated. "Not a wasted breath, not a wasted step, see?" he said, his voice low. "This is what I was made for. To survive. To fight, to kill. Not to hope. Not to feel." But the girl followed him, refusing to give up. "Then maybe your makers failed," she said softly. "Because you still feel, even if you deny it." His jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, but he said nothing. Instead, he led her onward, deeper into danger. As they moved, memories struck him like lightning. He remembered faces, other test subjects, children who screamed in pain when the scientists broke them apart and rebuilt them. Most did not survive. He did. He was the strongest. The last one, and so he became their living weapon. But now, walking through the ruined streets beside this girl, he began to wonder, did survival make him strong, or did it only make him empty? They stopped again when the path split in two. To the left, a collapsed bridge. To the right, a road guarded by alien machines. The man studied the path. He could destroy the machines, but the fight would draw more. It always did. He turned to the girl. "If you stay with me, you will see more death than you can imagine. Are you ready for that?" She nodded firmly. If it means saving her, yes. For the first time, a flicker of respect crossed his face. She was fragile, yet her will was stronger than steel, perhaps stronger than his. Without another word, he stepped onto the road. His weapon hummed in his hands, his body tense and ready. The girl followed, her heart pounding. In that moment, he realized something strange. For years, he had walked alone, fighting only to stay alive. Now, for the first time, he was not fighting for himself. He was fighting for someone else. The mighty human, the living weapon, had found a reason to fight again. And though he did not admit it out loud, deep inside, a voice long thought dead whispered, "This is your purpose." The city's heart was a graveyard of steel and fire. Towers broken in half leaned over the streets like fallen giants. Black smoke rose from craters where alien bombs had struck long ago. The air smelled of rust and ash, and every step echoed with danger. The mighty human moved first, his weapon resting against his shoulder, his eyes always searching. Behind him, the girl followed, clutching a small piece of cloth torn from her mother's dress. She kept it close to her chest as if it could shield her from the horrors around them. Ahead, a patrol passed. 4 alien machines, tall as men but built from jagged metal, their arms ending in blades that hummed with energy. Their heads turned slowly, red lights scanning the rubble. The man raised his hand, signaling the girl to stop. She pressed herself against a cracked wall, holding her breath. The patrol drew closer, their steps clicking in perfect rhythm. In one swift motion, the man vanished from her side. She blinked, and he was already behind the last machine, his weapon silent but deadly. One by one, he struck with precision. No wasted bullets, no sound beyond the crunch of broken circuits. In seconds, the patrol was nothing but wreckage on the ground. He reappeared beside her, calm, unshaken. "Move," he whispered. She stared at him in awe. He wasn't just strong. He was something else, something beyond human. Yet the more she watched him fight, the more she wondered, was he protecting her or simply destroying what stood in his way? They pressed on, weaving through alleys and broken bridges. The deeper they went, the more alien symbols appeared on walls, glowing faintly in the dark. Strange banners written in a language not of Earth marked this place as claimed territory. "This is their nest," the girl whispered, her voice trembling. The man nodded once. "Yes, the closer we get, the more dangerous it becomes." She gripped her cloth tighter. "Then we're close to her." "I can feel it." He said nothing. His silence carried both caution and doubt. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed above them, a metallic screech. The man looked up. On the rooftop, smaller drones scuttled like insects, their red eyes glowing in the dark. "They've seen us," he muttered. Without warning, beams of light cut across the street. The girl screamed as one seared the ground near her feet, leaving a smoking scar in the stone. The man pushed her behind cover, his weapon flashing as he fired at the drones. Each shot lit the ruins like lightning, each impact sending machines crashing down in sparks. But for every drone he destroyed, more appeared, crawling out of the shadows. "Run," he shouted. The girl obeyed, darting through the rubble as explosions shook the ground around her. The man stayed close, his rifle never silent, his movements sharp and precise. But even he could not fight forever. At last, they slid into the ruins of an old subway station. The man smashed the entrance controls, sealing the heavy doors behind them. The pounding of machines echoed outside, but for now they were safe. The girl collapsed against the wall, gasping for breath. They'll never stop, will they?" "No," the man said, his voice steady. "Not until one of us is dead." She looked at him, fear and curiosity in her eyes. "Why do they hunt you so hard?" He hesitated. In truth, he already knew the answer. He was not just another human rebel. He was the weapon they had failed to capture years ago. To the aliens, he was unfinished business. To the Overlord, he was the one enemy that could not be controlled, but he did not tell her that. Instead, he said only, "Because I'm not easy to kill." They rested in silence for a moment, the air heavy with dust. The girl traced her fingers over the cloth in her hand. "When I was little, my mother told me stories about heroes," she said softly. "Men and women who stood up against impossible odds, who fought not because they were told to, but because it was right. She said one day a hero would come for us too." The man leaned against the wall, his face shadowed. Then she was wrong. "Heroes are myths. I am not a hero. I am just a weapon." But the girl shook her head. "A weapon doesn't save lives. You just saved mine again. That makes you more than what they made you." Her words lingered in the darkness. He wanted to dismiss them, to remind her that he was built to kill, not to save. Yet deep inside, a small spark fought against the silence he had carried for so long. A distant rumble shook the floor. The man stood, his weapon ready. He moved to the shadows, listening. Heavy steps echoed from the tunnels, larger machines drawn by the fight above. "They are coming," he said. The girl stood as well, her fear replaced by determination. "Then let's go before they find us." He nodded, leading her deeper into the tunnels. The path grew darker, colder, the air thick with the stench of alien metal. Strange lights pulsed along the walls, marking the way toward the enemy stronghold. Every step forward felt like stepping into the jaws of a trap, but he did not stop. And for the first time in years, he understood why. He was not walking for himself, he was walking for her. For the mother she wanted to save. For the chance, however small, to give meaning to the weapon he had become. The mighty human was no longer wandering. He was marching into the enemy's territory, knowing full well that only blood and fire waited ahead. And yet, for the first time, he did not walk alone. The tunnels spat them out into the open again. Above, the sky was darker than before, heavy with smoke. Towers in the distance glowed with alien lights, sharp and cold like blades cutting through the night. And at the very center of the city stood the fortress, the prison where the girl's mother was held. It rose like a black mountain, built from steel, not of earth. Spires twisted upward, pulsing with blue energy. Around it, the ground itself glowed with alien symbols, lines carved into stone like veins of fire. The girl gasped. "She's there." "I know it," the mighty human said nothing. His eyes studied the fortress, every wall, every gun, every patrol. To him, it was more than a prison. It was a trap waiting to snap shut. Still, he stepped forward. They crept through the outer streets, silent as shadows. The girl kept close, her heart hammering, but the man moved with the precision of a predator. He counted the guards, measured the towers, scanned for hidden weapons. He had done this before, so many times before, but never with someone at his side. At last, they reached the fortress gates. To their surprise, no guard stood there. The great steel doors loomed open as if inviting them in. The girl's face lit with hope. "It's a sign," she whispered. "She's waiting for us," but the man's eyes narrowed. His instincts screamed danger. "No," he muttered. "It's too easy." Still, he could not turn back. She had brought him this far, and the truth lay within those walls. He gripped his weapon tighter. "Stay behind me," he ordered. They entered. Inside, the halls were vast and empty. Alien lights pulsed along the walls, casting long shadows. The silence was thick, unnatural. Each step echoed like a drumbeat bouncing back from the steel. The girl clutched her cloth tighter. "Why is it so quiet?" The man did not answer. His finger rested on the trigger, his body tense, ready. As they moved deeper, the lights suddenly shifted. One by one, they flickered from cold blue to burning red. A low hum filled the air, rising to a steady roar. Then the walls came alive. Screens unfolded around them, stretching from floor to ceiling. And on every screen a face appeared, tall, pale, and crowned with sharp metal. "The Overlord!" His voice thundered through the hall. "So the lost weapon walks into my grasp at last." The girl froze in shock. "No." The man raised his weapon, his eyes locked on the image. "Overlord!" The alien ruler's face twisted into a cruel smile. "You should have stayed in the shadows, human. You should have kept hiding like the broken thing you are. But you could not resist, could you? You heard the call. The bait was too perfect." The girl's eyes widened. "Bait?" The Overlord laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Yes, child. Did you think your cries reached him by chance? Did you think your mother's capture was fate? No, it was design. I knew you would seek help, and I knew only one would answer. The weapon that escaped me long ago." The man's grip tightened on his rifle. His scars seemed to burn under his skin. The Overlord leaned closer on the screen. "I made you, human. You are mine. Every bone, every muscle, every nerve in your body sings my design. You cannot run from what you are." The girl turned to the man, her voice breaking. "Is it true? He made you?" The man's silence was answer enough. His jaw clenched, his eyes filled with fury, but he could not deny it. The Overlord's voice grew colder. "You were meant to be my soldier, my blade, my living weapon. But you ran, you hid. You wasted your strength protecting insects. Now you will fulfill your purpose. You will kneel or you will die." The fortress shook as heavy doors slammed shut behind them. From every corner of the hall, machines awoke. Blades hissed. Cannons charged. Red eyes burned in the dark. The girl clung to the man's arm. "We have to run." But he did not move. His breath came slow, steady. His weapon hummed as it charged. "No," he said quietly. "There is no running. Not anymore." The machines advanced, circling like wolves. Sparks lit the air. The smell of burning metal sharp in their throats. The girl's fear turned to despair. This was never about saving her, was it? The man looked down at her, his eyes hard yet strangely human. She may still live, but this was always about me. The Overlord's voice roared. Show me your strength, weapon. Show me why you were made. And in that moment, the man understood. He was not walking into a rescue. He was walking into judgment. He raised his rifle and the hall erupted in fire. The hall blazed with fire. Sparks flew, steel cracked, and alien machines fell one by one under the mighty human's weapon. His movements were a storm. Every shot precise, every strike ruthless. Yet no matter how many he destroyed, more poured in through hidden doors. The girl pressed herself against the wall, trembling as the battle raged around her. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. The fortress had sealed itself and escape was impossible. Above the chaos, the Overlord's voice rolled like thunder. Yes, fight, weapon. Let them see your power. Let the child watch what you truly are. The man gritted his teeth. He spun, blasting another machine to shreds. His body burned with pain, but he ignored it. He could not stop. If he stopped, they would both die. Finally, the last machine crashed to the ground, its red eyes flickering out. Smoke filled the hall, the air thick with the stink of oil and scorched metal. The girl coughed, then looked at him with wide, fearful eyes. His chest rose and fell, his body streaked with cuts and bruises. But what frightened her most was not the wounds, it was his expression. Cold, empty, as if killing had awakened something dark inside him. The screens above flickered. The Overlord's pale face returned, smiling. You see now, child? He is not a savior. He is not your hero. He is my creation. My blade. The girl shook her head fiercely. No, he chose to save me. He fought for me. He is not yours. The Overlord's eyes narrowed. You do not understand, little one. Everything he has done, every choice, every battle, was written in his blood long before you were born. His strength is mine. His will is mine. Even his defiance is mine. The man raised his weapon, aiming at the screens. You are wrong, he growled. The Overlord's laughter filled the fortress. Am I? Tell me, weapon, do you know why you survived when all the others died? Do you know why your flesh endured what theirs could not? The man froze. For years he had buried those memories. Faces of other children in the lab. Screams in the dark. Broken bodies left behind. He had never asked why he alone survived. The Overlord leaned forward, his voice sharp and cruel. Because you were not chosen. You were engineered. Your body, your blood, your mind, they are not yours. They are mine. You are not a man. You are my design, the girl gasped. Her hands flew to her mouth, tears filling her eyes. She looked at the man, desperate for denial, for some proof that it wasn't true, but he did not answer. His silence said everything. The Overlord's smile widened. You see, child? He cannot deny it. He was never human. He was never free. He is mine, and when I take him back, you and your mother will be nothing but memories. The girl stepped forward, her voice shaking but fierce. No, he is human. Maybe you changed his body. Maybe you hurt him, but you cannot change his heart. You cannot take what makes him choose. The man's hands trembled around his weapon. Her words cut through him sharper than any blade. Could it be true? After everything, after all the death and silence, was there something left inside him that was truly his? The Overlord saw the doubt in his eyes and pressed harder. Do you think she cares for you, weapon? She fears you. Look at her face. Look at her tears. You are a monster in her eyes, whether she admits it or not. The girl's voice cracked, but she shouted anyway. No, you're wrong. I don't fear him. I believe in him. He saved me when no one else would. He is not your weapon, he is my protector. For the first time, the mighty human's heart stirred. He looked at her, and in her tearful eyes he saw no fear, only hope. A fragile hope, but real. Something inside him broke, and something else was born. He turned back to the screen, his voice steady now, almost calm. You did make me, Overlord. You gave me strength. You gave me scars. But you failed in one thing. The Overlord's eyes narrowed. And what is that? You could not take away my choice. With that, the man raised his weapon and fired. The blast shattered the screens, filling the hall with smoke and sparks. The Overlord's image vanished, but his laughter lingered, echoing from hidden speakers. "Good," the voice rumbled. "Then come to me, weapon. Come and let us see if your humanity can stand against the power that made you." The hall doors rumbled open, revealing a passage deeper into the fortress. Beyond it, the air glowed with strange light like the beating heart of some vast machine. The girl looked at the man, her voice trembling. "If you go, he'll kill you." The man placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. His eyes were no longer empty. They burned with something new. "Then I will die as a man, not as his weapon." And with that, he stepped into the passage, walking toward the Overlord's throne. The girl followed, clutching the cloth of her mother's dress. Fear pressed on her chest, but so did faith. For the first time, she believed the mighty human was more than a weapon. He was something the Overlord could never control. The hall blazed with fire. Sparks flew, steel cracked, and alien machines fell one by one under the mighty human's weapon. His movements were a storm, every shot precise, every strike ruthless. Yet no matter how many he destroyed, more poured in through hidden doors. The girl pressed herself against the wall, trembling as the battle raged around her. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. The fortress had sealed itself, and escape was impossible. Above the chaos, the Overlord's voice rolled like thunder. "Yes, fight, weapon. Let them see your power. Let the child watch what you truly are." The man gritted his teeth. He spun, blasting another machine to shreds. His body burned with pain, but he ignored it. He could not stop. If he stopped, they would both die. Finally, the last machine crashed to the ground, its red eyes flickering out. Smoke filled the hall, the air thick with the stink of oil and scorched metal. The girl coughed, then looked at him with wide, fearful eyes. His chest rose and fell, his body streaked with cuts and bruises. But what frightened her most was not the wounds, it was his expression. Cold, empty, as if killing had awakened something dark inside him. The screens above flickered. The Overlord's pale face returned, smiling. "You see now, child? He is not a savior. He is not your hero. He is my creation. My blade." The girl shook her head fiercely. "No, he chose to save me. He fought for me. He is not yours." The Overlord's eyes narrowed. "You do not understand, little one. Everything he has done, every choice, every battle, was written in his blood long before you were born. His strength is mine. His will is mine. Even his defiance is mine." The man raised his weapon, aiming at the screens. "You are wrong," he growled. The Overlord's laughter filled the fortress. "Am I? Tell me, weapon, do you know why you survived when all the others died? Do you know why your flesh endured what theirs could not?" The man froze. For years he had buried those memories. Faces of other children in the lab. Screams in the dark. Broken bodies left behind. He had never asked why he alone survived. The Overlord leaned forward, his voice sharp and cruel. "Because you were not chosen. You were engineered. Your body, your blood, your mind, they are not yours. They are mine. You are not a man. You are my design," the girl gasped. Her hands flew to her mouth, tears filling her eyes. She looked at the man, desperate for denial, for some proof that it wasn't true, but he did not answer. His silence said everything. The Overlord's smile widened. "You see, child? He cannot deny it. He was never human. He was never free. He is mine, and when I take him back, you and your mother will be nothing but memories." The girl stepped forward, her voice shaking but fierce. "No, he is human. Maybe you changed his body. Maybe you hurt him, but you cannot change his heart. You cannot take what makes him choose." The man's hands trembled around his weapon. Her words cut through him sharper than any blade. Could it be true? After everything, after all the death and silence, was there something left inside him that was truly his? The Overlord saw the doubt in his eyes and pressed harder. "Do you think she cares for you, weapon? She fears you. Look at her face. Look at her tears. You are a monster in her eyes, whether she admits it or not." The girl's voice cracked, but she shouted anyway. "No, you're wrong. I don't fear him. I believe in him. He saved me when no one else would. He is not your weapon, he is my protector." For the first time, the mighty human's heart stirred. He looked at her, and in her tearful eyes he saw no fear, only hope. A fragile hope, but real. Something inside him broke, and something else was born. He turned back to the screen, his voice steady now, almost calm. "You did make me, Overlord. You gave me strength. You gave me scars. But you failed in one thing. The Overlord's eyes narrowed. And what is that? You could not take away my choice. With that, the man raised his weapon and fired. The blast shattered the screens, filling the hall with smoke and sparks. The Overlord's image vanished, but his laughter lingered, echoing from hidden speakers. Good, the voice rumbled. Then come to me, weapon. Come and let us see if your humanity can stand against the power that made you. The hall doors rumbled open, revealing a passage deeper into the fortress. Beyond it, the air glowed with strange light, like the beating heart of some vast machine. The girl looked at the man, her voice trembling. If you go, he'll kill you. The man placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. His eyes were no longer empty. They burned with something new. Then I will die as a man, not as his weapon. And with that, he stepped into the passage, walking toward the Overlord's throne. The girl followed, clutching the cloth of her mother's dress. Fear pressed on her chest, but so did faith. For the first time, she believed the mighty human was more than a weapon. He was something the Overlord could never control. The fortress shook as the doors sealed shut behind them. The passage ahead glowed with a strange red light, beating like the pulse of a living heart. The air was heavy, filled with the metallic scent of oil and the faint hiss of machines. Each step carried them closer to the core, the throne of the Overlord. The mighty human walked first, his weapon steady, his shoulders squared. His every step echoed with purpose, though deep inside he knew the fight ahead could be his last. Behind him, the girl followed, clutching the cloth from her mother's dress, her courage holding back her fear. At the end of the passage, the chamber opened wide. The throne room stretched like a cavern, lit by streams of molten energy that flowed through the floor like rivers of fire. High above, chains of metal crisscrossed the ceiling, suspending strange alien machines that hummed with power. At the center stood a throne carved from black steel, and upon it sat the Overlord. He rose slowly, towering over them, his body part flesh, part machine, his face pale and cruel beneath a crown of blades. So, the Overlord's voice thundered, the weapon returns to its master. The mighty human raised his rifle. I am no one's weapon. The Overlord smiled, a cold and knowing smile. With a wave of his hand, the chamber wall split open, releasing a swarm of armored soldiers. Their bodies gleamed with alien steel, their eyes burning red. Blades snapped into place, cannons charged with energy. The girl gasped. There's too many. Stay back, the man said firmly. And then the battle began. The first wave charged, their blades sparking. The man's rifle roared, each shot tearing through armor and steel. He moved like lightning, faster than the eye could follow, weaving between enemies, striking with brutal precision. His fists crushed metal skulls, his boots shattered armored chests. But for every machine he destroyed, another stepped forward. The floor shook under their weight. The air split with their screeches. The girl huddled near the wall, her heart pounding as sparks rained around her. The Overlord watched from his throne, his voice echoing over the chaos. Look at him, child. Do you see? This is what he was made for, slaughter, destruction. He cannot escape what he is. The man heard the words, but he did not falter. His body burned with pain, his strength pushed to its limit, yet his resolve was unbroken. For the first time, he was not fighting because he was made to. He was fighting because he chose to. The chamber floor became a graveyard of shattered steel. Smoke filled the air, sparks leapt from broken wires. At last, only silence remained. The man stood in the center, his chest heaving, his weapon glowing hot from overuse. His arms were cut, his blood dripping, but he stood tall. The Overlord rose from his throne. Impressive. But now you face me. The chamber trembled as the Overlord stepped forward. With each stride, the air grew heavier, his body glowing with power. Blades unfolded from his arms, and his eyes shone like burning suns. The girl cried out, You can't fight him, he's too strong. The mighty human did not turn. His voice was calm, steady. Strength is not everything. The Overlord struck first, his blade cutting through the air with the speed of lightning. The man blocked with his rifle, the clash sending sparks flying. The force hurled him back, slamming him into the ground. Pain ripped through his body, but he rose again. The duel raged across the chamber. Blades clashed against steel. Energy blasts shook the walls, molten rivers boiled with each strike. The Overlord's strength was monstrous, his every blow meant to crush, to break. But the man fought with something the Overlord could never match: will. Each time he fell, he rose. Each time he bled, he struck harder. The girl's voice cut through the storm. Don't give in. "You're more than him," the Overlord sneered, slamming the man into the floor. "You are nothing but my creation." The man coughed blood, his vision blurred, but his grip on his weapon did not loosen. He looked up, his eyes burning with defiance. "No," he growled. "I am not your weapon. I am my own." With a roar, he surged forward. His strike was not clean, not perfect, but it was driven by something greater than design. The rifle's blast tore through the Overlord's chest, sending sparks and blood spraying into the air. The Overlord staggered, his crown of blades cracking, his voice twisted with rage. "Impossible. You were mine." The man stood over him, trembling, broken but unbowed. "I was never yours." He struck again, and the Overlord fell, his body crashing into the molten rivers below. The chamber shook as the fortress screamed with failing power. The girl ran to him, tears in her eyes. His body was bleeding, his breath shallow, but he was still standing. "You did it," she whispered. "You won." The man looked at her, his face calm despite the pain. "No, we won. Because I chose to fight, for you." And then, for the first time in years, the mighty human allowed himself a small, weary smile. But above them, the fortress groaned. The walls cracked, the molten rivers surged. The battle was over, but the war for survival was not. The girl clutched his arm. "We have to leave before this place falls." He nodded, his steps heavy but unyielding. Together they moved toward the collapsing doors, the fortress crumbling around them. The mighty human had faced his maker and chosen his own purpose. Yet in the firestorm of the dying fortress, one question lingered. Had the Overlord truly been destroyed, or was this only the beginning? The fortress was dying. Walls split apart as molten rivers burst through the cracks, spraying fire into the air. Sparks rained down like burning stars. The ground shook with every explosion, and the chamber echoed with the sound of tearing steel. The mighty human staggered forward, his body bleeding, his strength nearly gone. His every step felt heavier than the last, yet he refused to fall. Beside him, the girl clung to his arm, guiding him through the chaos. "Don't stop," she cried, her voice breaking. "If we stop, we die." His breath came slow and ragged. His vision blurred, but still he moved. He had fought the Overlord and he had won, or at least he thought he had. But victory had not come without cost. The girl's eyes darted around the collapsing chamber. She spotted a side passage and pulled at his arm. "This way!" Together they slipped through the flames. Behind them, the throne room crumbled into the molten river, swallowing the Overlord's broken body. Or so it seemed. The passage was narrow, filled with smoke. Pipes burst overhead, showering sparks. The girl coughed, tears stinging her eyes, but she kept moving. The man followed, each step leaving a trail of blood behind him. At last, they reached a broken balcony that overlooked the outer city. The fortress groaned behind them, towers collapsing into ash. For the first time since entering, they could see the open sky. The girl dropped to her knees, clutching the cloth from her mother's dress. "We made it," she whispered. "We're alive," but the man did not answer. He stood at the edge of the balcony, staring at the burning city below. His chest rose and fell with effort. His arms shook from exhaustion. And yet his eyes were steady, fixed on something only he could see. The girl looked up at him, her face pale with worry. "You're hurt. You need to rest." He shook his head slowly. "No, rest comes later." "But you can't keep going like this," she pleaded. "You'll die." The man finally turned to her. His face was worn, his scars lit by the glow of fire, but there was something new in his expression, something she had never seen before. Purpose. "All my life," he said quietly, "I was told I was a weapon, that I was made only to fight, to kill, to obey, and I believed it. I let the silence in me rule. I let it strip away my humanity." He looked down at his trembling hands stained with blood and ash. "But then I met you. You reminded me what it means to choose, to fight not because I was built to, but because I wanted to." The girl's eyes filled with tears. "You're not a weapon. You're a man, the strongest man I've ever known." For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the distant roar of the collapsing fortress. Then the man stepped closer, placing a heavy hand on her shoulder. "Your mother," he said. "We must find her. If she still lives, she waits for you." The girl's heart lifted with hope, though fear still tugged at her voice. "But what if the Overlord lied? What if she's already gone?" The man's eyes narrowed. "Then we will know the truth. And if she is gone, we will make sure her death was not in vain." Before the girl could answer, the ground beneath them trembled again. From the collapsing fortress, a deep rumbling sound rose, a sound that made the girl's blood run cold. The molten river erupted, spraying fire into the air. From within the flames, a broken figure stirred. Metal screeched, and a voice faint but fierce echoed through the night. "You cannot kill what was never alive." The girl gasped. "He's still alive." The man's eyes hardened. He stepped to the edge of the balcony, staring at the fire below. For a moment his body wavered, as if he might leap back into the flames to finish what he started. But then he turned to the girl. "Not tonight. Tonight we survive." He lifted her in his arms, despite his wounds. With one last look at the burning fortress, he leapt from the balcony into the ruins below. The air rushed past them, the city rising to meet them, and for a heartbeat it felt like falling into the unknown. They landed hard but alive, rolling across the rubble. The girl clung to him, trembling, but he shielded her with his body. When they stopped, she looked up at him wide-eyed. "Why did you save me?" she asked softly. The mighty human stared at the sky, the red glow fading into black. His breath was weak, but his words were steady. "Because I chose to. Because for the first time, I know my purpose." The girl squeezed his hand. "And what is it?" He closed his eyes, the faintest smile touching his lips. "To fight not as a weapon, but as a man." Above them, the fortress finally collapsed into a sea of fire. Yet somewhere in the flames, a faint echo of laughter remained. The overlord's promise that the war was not over. The girl leaned against him, holding tight. The man's body was broken, but his spirit was unyielding. He had found his purpose, and with it something greater than strength. Hope. And though the night was filled with fire and fear, that hope would burn brighter than any fortress.